Welcome to Jill's Sandwich Shop, where everything served is related.
Today on the menu, we're going to be talking about the infamous Resident Evil Degeneration. That's right, it's the first CGI movie ever created from Capcom. We're very excited to go over a review, what we think of it, pros and cons, and all that good stuff. What do you think about it, Taicho?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to go over it. That was actually such a big movie for me. I really looked forward to that one coming out. I remember hearing about that, and it took me so long to find a way to see it. That's for sure, because I was pretty young at the time, and I wasn't really working, just going out buying DVDs and all that, So it was actually really difficult for me to get a hold of to watch for the first time until finally. If you remember, Blockbuster and Hollywood video days, we went to there and I found a copy of it, and I actually rented it and watched it for the first time, in my high school days. And, back then I loved it a lot, but it was funny watching it again because we definitely viewed it a different way than I remember viewing it the first time I watched through it back then, so long ago.
I know, man. The good old days of the DVDs and the DVD players. I miss those days. It was interesting. Actually, Degeneration never came out in theaters, so the only way to get it was to either watch it illegally online or actually buy a DVD. And that's what I ended up doing. I bought the DVD, I believe, within a month of when the movie actually came out, because there was no other way for me to see it.
Yeah, it took me so long. It was disappointing how long it took to watch it, honestly. But when I did finally get the chance to see it, I was so hyped. And I remember seeing the movie originally, I absolutely loved it. It was a great film. Over the years, definitely hasn't developed as well.
Yeah,
that's for sure. But I was just so hyped to have the zombies again. Like I say in so many of our podcasts, I just absolutely love every moment we get to have with zombies, and it was such an epic moment to get to bring them back and see Leon especially messing things up with Claire again, and
as usual.
it was really fun. Yeah, right. it was things as they should be. So it was just a fun movie. I was still salty even back then though about Angela.
Oh, God.
Not the biggest fan of her. I wish it would have been Leon and Claire the whole time, but
Yes, stay tuned. Later in the video, we're going to be telling you what we really think about Angela. Really think about her. We're gonna dive in deep into her personality and what a sucky character she was.
Miss Polka Dot dress over there.
Oh my God! Don't even remind me about that scene. I was cringing throughout the whole time. Every time she was on screen, I just wanted to punch the crap out of my laptop.
It's funny because all the different, Instagram pages that we interact with, and there's so many characters covered, so many side characters, and even from different movies. And one of the only pages I don't think we've come across yet is an Angela fan page.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Maybe we could make an Angela hater page. Honestly, I'm down for that.
We could, yeah. We'll make an Angela slam page.
I know. What is her last name? I don't remember.
I don't know. What was it?
I don't know.
I can't remember what it was. I don't know if they really just say it in there. It's probably one of those ones you have to see in the credits or something to get the full name.
Well, stay tuned, guys. It's going to be Angela Haters at IG. Follow us. But no. Moving aside, though, do you want to give us a little of a summary of what Degeneration is for those of us who may have not seen it yet?
Yeah, definitely. So Resident Evil Degeneration, it starts off, we have Claire meeting up with a family, and she's helping watch over a little girl that we end up finding out the mom has something to do, we don't really know if it's mom or grandma, right? What do they say? She calls out to her in the movie. What was she to her?
So I think the person, the aunt, that was her aunt, right?
Aunt, that's right. Yeah.
And then apparently
she's a terrorist worker.
Yeah, and I think her parents died, but the aunt, the little girl's parents died, but the aunt works with TerraSave. So with Claire. Redfield.
Yeah. So they're linked there. Yeah. So they meet up at the airport in the beginning, and somebody who's infected ends up making a plane crash into an airport, and it just spreads from there. We have some special forces unit that comes in, and of course it's led by Leon, the new unknown operative that they don't want to listen to, they don't trust
Who
in.
would have thunk it?
Yeah, right.
I didn't see that coming.
Right. So we got our emo goth. There we go.
God.
Our emo goth Leon for this movie, and he comes in with this team, bumps into Claire, and it just spins out of control from there, involving a politician from the area who's involved with the umbrella company, or not the umbrella company, but one of the companies that's in question that's possibly working with the black market. And there's scientists there related to it, and they all get caught up in that. So we'll dive into all that, how they get there, and what we think about that. So yeah, pretty much starting off at the airport. I mean, I still remember the graphics for the opening scene. I thought it was so epic, seeing like the airplane, looking how it was. It almost looked like a real movie and everything. I was so hyped about that as a kid. And then even when the plane crashes in, the zombies like tumbling in, I thought was absolutely hilarious moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think one thing I want to say about that opening scene where it's like an airport and like there's planes like coming in, coming out. I honestly thought it was stock footage. I was like, where did they get this from? Like, did they just? It's literally stock footage of an airport, and they maybe applied like a cartoony filter to it. That's what it looks like to me, but in a good way.
Yeah, it looks so on point. Yeah, it's like legit on point.
Yeah.
It's some of the best graphics I've seen. It almost throws the perspective of like the whole movie off when you like get to the rest of it, because you're like, how did I just see this super intro? It just looks like I'm at an actual airport, and now these characters are a little, I don't know, they were a little waxy, I felt like, in this one. After later review, coming back to it now, at the time it was good, but watching now, they just feel like such waxy characters.
Yes, I think that movie has not aged well at all compared to every other Resident Evil movie, every other Resident Evil game. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on that Capcom maybe did not think of when they first made it.
Possibly. I think maybe they might have rushed the concept of it just to get it out there, but I still loved it for sure. I mean, there's a lot of pros to it. There's pros and cons, but I definitely had a lot of pros with it. I did absolutely love that we had both Leon and Claire in it again. I would say one of the biggest upsets for me, like I was saying a little bit ago, that's separated by fate, as per usual, story with them. Like, yet again, we get them together, and right away they're separated, not getting to work together, really.
Yeah.
I would have hoped they would have stayed together more in that movie. That's what I thought was going to be going down,
For sure. I agree with that. And instead, what we got was Leon working with Craig, who was the person with Angela. I think they were in a team, I believe. Yeah. And Leon goes into that building where the politician is held up in, along with Claire and I think the child. I think her name is Ani or something like that. And so Leon goes there with Angela, who shall not be named, and then Craig. They go into the building, and as you mentioned, Leon bumps into Claire, and then something leads to another, and then the politician's like, yeah, get me out of here. And then he's like, are you guys serious? This is the only person who's been sent to save me, blah, blah, blah. So it's basically like another Ashley. Like an Ashley all over again, but in like a freaking like 50-year-old man body.
Which is definitely more accurate for, that figure politician just being a big old crybaby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the politician gets out, and then something breaks out about how there's another corporation involved, and then Angela's brother, I think, like, he lost his family somewhere in the line due to that corporation. And then he just, YOLOs, and as per usual Resident Evil style, he decides to inject himself with the virus, and then he turns into a monster. And then, something leads to another. Claire gets kidnapped somehow for a freaking tea party with that guy. The guy with the glasses. There's an explosion that happens, and then Leon gets there along with Angela, and Angela's like, oh my god, this is my brother, what are you doing? And then Leon's like, simp, as usual.
Yeah,
and then Leon gets his ass kicked the last 30 minutes of the movie, he gets his ass handed to him by what's his name? I don't remember what the bad guy's name is, but Angelo's brother, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
He gets his ass handed to him, and then he does like some heroics and like some gymnastics of holding on to a pole with his like left toe or something.
Yeah, Curtis. Curtis,
yeah,
right?
Curtis,
Brother Curtis, yeah.
Curtis, yeah. And then somehow, like he's holding on to Angela, and then like below them there is Curtis with his like, I don't know, 6,000 pounds size or something like that. And here's Leon just hanging on to this pole and it's like not moving her at all. Angela's like, yeah, let me go. And then Leon's like, no. If you don't save one life, you'll never save any. It's fucking cringy. And then he just shoots Curtis one bullet into the eyeball, and then all of a sudden he's dead.
Yeah. It advanced pretty quickly. How everybody's just like helpless, right. And then Leon just pops it off right there. That one accurate shot while he's holding from one leg on the bar, other arm is holding them. Yeah, it was. I feel like somebody's leg would have got dislocated there, for sure.
He definitely does not miss leg day. That's what I'm going to say, for sure.
Yeah, that
definitely man is serious.
Not. I mean, you see some of the jumps they make trying to get through there at the end, though, too. Okay. It's definitely some parkour situations going on there.
I feel like Leon is always involved in some kind of parkour. Like, even Vendetta, there was some parkouring going on in that building. Of course. Yeah, always.
Absolute parkouring at the end.
Yeah.
He's got to show off his skills. Even in Resident Evil 4, he's got the parkour going on, you know. He's got to run away from the boulders, and then he's got the giant statue he's got to run from, doing the diving, and, you know, the knights in the areas he's got to do the parkour diving away from, of course. He's just an absolute parkour master.
Dude, whenever there's a female that needs to be saved in the equation, RE4, Ashley, Degeneration, Angela, Vendetta, Rebecca, but he's not really a simp for Rebecca, but you know, he has to live to his, you know, simping potential, you know what I mean? Like, he still has to save her. Damnation,
he's trying to get Ada still.
Damnation is like, you know, that's Ada, that's the true simp objective, simp. You know?
He wasn't sure if he had to flex his buns for the Russian president too, though. That's the thing. He was like, those skills, maybe I should simp over her too. She's pretty powerful.
Dude, he probably let her win because he was simping. Like, that was, you know, him being respectful. He's a respectful gentleman. He respects the women.
If I win, I can't get it later.
He was like, oh crap, maybe it's not working with Ada. Maybe I should just settle down with this Russian lady.
I mean, you see how it is. He keeps his options open. He turns down Ashley, but then he is like going for Hunnigan at the end of 4. So, and then you see clearly in Degeneration, you know, simping over Angela the whole time, but then at the end they're walking away, and Claire says something about the diving, you know, God. And he still leaves it open for some Claire action there too.
I know. One thing I would say I hate about Leon's character is he legitimately, there's not a single female Resident Evil character that he has not simped to.
Except Ashley, just that one.
Well, actually, I mean, technically, if you put it into terms of, he almost gave his life to save her, you know what I mean? In RE4. So technically,
I think that was him simping over the president.
He's simping over. You know, that's so funny because actually in RE6, I thought that guy was Ashley's dad, the president. Because like they were all like, oh, they're so close together and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened since 2005? You know, like, Leon, should we be worried here? But no.
That was one thing that was cool about Degeneration, though, too, is we got to see Hunnigan pop back up.
I love
that was a good thing. Yeah. Gotta have Hunnigan involved.
I personally am a big fan of Hunnigan, and I do think she deserves more than her usual, you know, Leon called, or she's calling Leon, and there's like an update on the mission, or an update on what's going on, or what is it called, the Damnation one, where she called him, and he's like, oh yeah, I've been here, and then she just hangs up on her.
Yeah. You know what I think would be awesome, actually? Yeah. We need a side game with Hunnigan where the headquarters gets infected.
Oh yeah.
And she's got to escape, and you just play an absolutely badass Hunnigan fighting her way out of some like infected government facility.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
That'd be legit.
I would love that. Hunnigan fan, Hunnigan fan forever. Instagram page comment, everyone.
Right? Yeah. There's so many that we have like that we interact with already. I'm sure they would love to see that too. We got to get them on.
Oh yeah,
have them
definitely.
Start some, some petitions.
Yeah, I think if we tell them, hey, we want to talk about that, and they're all going to be on board.
Right? That'd be epic. That would be absolutely epic. Honestly, that's the thing. I feel like there's so many epic Resident Evil characters that we have that are like already side-ish characters that we don't get enough of. And then they spent too much time adding in new characters that we didn't really want any of.
Angela?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, even why'd they have to take that Claire and Leon moment away, adding in these new characters that just didn't matter, you know?
I know.
I mean, I don't know. Even the guy that was with Angela, what was his
Craig?
name? I can't think of it. Was it? Yeah, Craig. Yeah, he just like, I don't know. He drove me crazy. He wasn't needed in there. He was just kind of like emotional filler in the beginning to use for Angela later. But it was just such a brief moment. It was like, was it really even worth it? Like, they know we wanted to see Leon and Claire together again, not dealing with like Leon with somebody else and then Claire doing some weird non-simping with some nerd dude until she realizes he's trying to like mess with her, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was kind of a disappointment to not have them together and more just random characters. I mean, I guess that was towards the beginning of them branching out, though. I just like, I don't know. It would have been cooler to have like, what if Billy was on the like special forces team, you know?
Yeah, I would honestly love that. And that's one really special thing about the Resident Evil CGI movies. They always tend to bring back the characters that haven't been in the games in so long. For example, the Vendetta, we got to see Rebecca again. We haven't seen her in what, like 10 years since that?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a long time. And I feel like Vendetta would have been a perfect time to bring in Billy too, but that's just, another topic for another episode when we go over Vendetta.
Yeah, I would have loved to see somebody back from then like pop into this one, for sure. I understand since it's a side movie bringing in new people, but like I feel like they just didn't use our familiar characters even in the way that we wanted.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the new characters, I feel like they didn't add much to make anything pop about the movie. Mm-hmm. There was the tie for the whole like brother thing with Curtis for sure, right. But I don't know. I felt like they kind of ripped off 2. It was almost like them doing the Resident Evil 2 remake before doing the Resident Evil 2 remake, because he ends up popping the G virus and Curtis ends up looking almost exactly like Professor Birkin anyways. So I don't know. I felt like it was one of those like stealing moments, kind of how like we're worried with 8 is doing from 4. But at the same time, so many of those things are what made me love the movie so much, but they miss so many good opportunities, I feel like.
I agree with that, and going back to what Curtis was looking like, he just looked like the most generic Resident Evil enemy of all time. He looked exactly like Birkin. Like, did they really, like, it just seems like they spent, like, a total of 30 minutes thinking about what the main boss is going to be like in this movie, and they just randomly said, oh, well, since we have Leon simping for Angela, maybe we should tie in the fact that her brother is mixed in all of this and she wants revenge or something, and then Leon is having second thoughts about killing him because he's her brother. And it's just like, overall, it's the most cringy Resident Evil plot I've ever witnessed in my life.
Even if you look at the breakdown of the boss battle, for example, like the final battle, you have them fighting in like a tower-like laboratory area, and that kind of resembles when you're on the train in Resident Evil 2, when you're taking the transportation train into the lab area. He fights the G virus, climbing up and down the wall there. And then, you have similar, like, the timer for the bomb going off and everything. And then, even if you look the other way too, they ended up using Degeneration in 6 because there's the whole running platform thing that they end up using Chris's story.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we see a lot of recycling for that, but 6 obviously came later. But I don't know. Degeneration, I felt like it was just kind of watching, the Birkin fight again, which was cool in a sense because it's cool to get a chance to like see what you did in those games, not having to play it, I mean, like there are benefits to cutscenes, but honestly, like I feel like I just need a Resident Evil 2 canon animated film, if anything, like don't recycle it into a different thing using it again, what you've already used.
Yeah. And I think another thing to add into the whole Curtis character development and like the whole plot about him and his revenge, I just feel like the movie never dived into detail. And when we suddenly learned about how like his wife was somehow killed or like involved with this corporation, and like he lost her as a result of all the things that were happening, and then we just cut to him injecting himself, and it just didn't make sense to me in a way. Like everything was very rushed. And even like when Angela came in and she was like, oh yeah, like don't do this, Curtis, and like the whole movie we spent an hour not knowing who these two people are. If we got some sort of background first, you know what I mean? It just felt very forced, and like I was like, well, we haven't seen a single scene where Angela and Curtis actually interacted as siblings. And then all of a sudden at the end, he's like after his transformation, he's looking at the picture. I think it was like Angela and then Curtis's wife and child. And he's like, oh my gosh, I suddenly remember. And it's like, bro, we haven't gotten any details about your relationship at all.
Yeah, because he tells her to like run at some point, right? Yeah. It was that was the thing. I felt like there just wasn't enough information on the characters for sure. It was too like in and out without, like, I don't know. I feel like they tried to include too many side characters without enough information about any of them. I mean, even with the little girl and the aunt, I mean, we kind of got brief information, but it was almost useless, like somewhat. It was just kind of like filler information that ended up kind of getting Claire stuck in the mother role again too, like in Resident Evil 2. So she ended up having to take care of the little girl for like over half of the movie.
Oh yeah.
So the second half of the movie, we don't get that with her, but I don't know, the second half of the movie she was also just kind of like useless until she saves them from that trap by closing the door. But like, I don't know. She ends up wounded like the whole second half of the movie.
I know.
She's like trying to recover, and then she has to be saved by Leon. And I feel like Claire's badassness is kind of always like regularly disregarded in so many things, just to make sure she's that caring role.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with how Capcom decided to bring in Claire into this movie and how they decided to actually use her in the plot. Like, don't get me wrong, we haven't seen Claire before Degeneration. The last time we saw her was in Code Veronica in 2000. And I mean, just in general, I do appreciate the decision by Capcom to bring her back in and like tell us what's been going on with her, because we haven't seen her in 8 years, which is 2008 was when Degeneration was released. But to bring her as she didn't even have a gun, okay, until Leon gave her a gun, and then she gave the gun back to him. Like, after all the badassness that we saw in Re 2 and in Resident Evil Code Veronica, and then you bring her here and you're making her like embody the most useless, like most stereotype female character and personality of like caring for this child, and like nothing's wrong with that. Like don't get me wrong. I'm all about like female choice, like whatever you want to do, you do, you do you. But the fact that they brought her in into the movie and they decided to give her that specific role, they didn't give her any weapons. She was stuck with this child, and then she gets like one badass scene where Leon like hands her the gun basically, and she starts like freaking karateing all the zombies around her, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, are you okay?" to Ani. That was single-handedly the best moment of Degeneration, hands down. When Claire got the gun and she got her like 30 seconds of epicness.
No. The best scene was when she goes up and slaps the mayor.
Oh yeah, that's
governor.
Close. That was.
Or no, I was wrong 2 times there. It's a senator. When she slaps the senator. There you go. Yeah, that's the most epic scene in the whole movie, right there. Number 1 cinematic moment of all time.
Best Claire Redfield moment of the whole Resident Evil franchise, right there.
I will say, so that is both like a pro and con, is how they brought her in. It was incredible to get her again because, like you were saying, that was like the first time that we seen her in like almost 8 years or so. So I don't know, I was hyped for that. It was great to get her in something again. It did kind of suck she was such a background role though. Her badassness was very momentary and just brief, so I feel like we didn't get the Claire that just I feel like we know Claire better than they portray her. Like, we all know she's way more badass than all of these are actually showing, and it just can make it frustrating sometimes because like, even look at how Revelations 2 gets, you know, she's the one who comes in and saves the day with everything going on, but yet again, you know, she's stuck taking care of another younger female character. She's having to look after Moira. So it's like, why can't Claire ever just be a badass, you know? Like, just let Claire do her thing. Like, she only had that opportunity in Code Veronica, and I feel like we just need her to come back in a different way.
I agree with that, and honestly, like, now that I'm thinking about it, we need Claire to be in Resident Evil 8/Village, because I know they were talking about how the next trailer, or the next news update, or whatever it is, it's coming soon. It's somewhere, you know, we were told it was going to be in August, and right now it's August what? August 25. So it's coming up. We have like 5 days left.
It's gotta be. It better come up soon. I'm hoping for it.
You know what I'm gonna be so pissed about? If like, you know how Chris kills what's her name, Ethan's wife, Mia. Mia. Imagine if Claire is stuck with their child and she has to take care of it. I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind. I
would send a few strongly worded letters over to Capcom.
A few. I would travel to the headquarters and freaking
watch her even be one of the witches, and her whole thing is she's been the mother witch raising the younger witches.
You know what? I my God, I wouldn't be surprised. First, we don't see her for 8 years, right? The first time we see her is in 1998 with Resident Evil 2. And remember, if you remember, in 1.5, she was supposed to be, what's her name, Eliza or something like that? Elza Walker. So Claire Redfield didn't even exist. Okay.
She actually did exist as a missing poster on the wall, and that was it. She was supposed to be related to Chris on just a missing character, but then they ended up scrapping that and making her more vital, which was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, Claire has been so mistreated by Capcom. She was a poster, first of all. And number 2, they wanted Liza Walker.
Elsa.
Crap, I keep forgetting. Elza Walker. And then we see her in Resident Evil 2, 1998. The next time we see her is two years after that in Code Veronica. And then Capcom make us wait 8 years for Degeneration to see her again, just to make her a motherly figure without a gun. Literally, the first scene we got her, she was fighting with an umbrella, and she was scared for her life. And there is no reason Claire should be scared for her life, because she's honestly more skilled than half of the Resident Evil heroes, in my opinion. Like, her and Leon, they escaped Raccoon City, and that should go down in history as like the most like respectful thing to do ever in the Resident Evil franchise in history, you know?
And I mean, like, I know she's Chris's sister and all, but like, what formal training does she have before Resident Evil 2 goes down to make her so badass, you know? And she just rocks it. So like, clearly she's just a natural epic leader. I mean, when it comes to the Redfields, I prefer Claire far more so than Chris, that's for sure. And I don't know, I feel like they've done her dirty a fair bit. I feel like she just needs like a bigger time to shine, and I feel like they could have even done that by remaking Code Veronica, like just to show that they acknowledge her as a single character is an important enough role, you know? And they could have brought that back, but they haven't brought it back yet. And I feel like now at this point, I feel like now, because we've waited so long, it won't even be enough just to have that Code Veronica remake. I feel like we need something more Claire oriented.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I just hope they're not going to take so long, because it seems like they always take long with Claire. I don't know what the poor girl's done to Capcom, but they wait 8 years, and then after Degeneration, it's in Revelations that we see her next, right? In 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's like another 7 years there. And then now we haven't seen her since Revelations, right? I believe. I don't think we've seen her anywhere else.
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
So how long do we have to wait? Do we have to wait until like 2023 to see her again? You know?
Man, I hope not.
Yeah.
It's been taking too long. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, there's been things I've been seeing back and forth. Let me confirm while we're chatting, because I've been seeing back and forth that Code Veronica remake is confirmed. So, I mean, if it is, when's that going to come out?
As far as we know now, the Capcom are... I mean, this is none of this is confirmed, but as far as speculation goes, Capcom are working on the Resident Evil 4 remake at the moment. And they were talking about... Not them, again. It's just, speculation and people. People are speculating that Capcom will be working on the Resident Evil 4 remake until at least 2022, and that's when they want to release the game to the public.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean...
Yeah, because I'm looking here, this says that it's not in any form of production at this time, but it is available on all the current consoles, just not... no remake confirmed yet. Such a bummer. I want to see her come back. I want to see her too. And even on Tumblr, I remember my Tumblr header thing was Claire for Resident Evil 7, and it was like that header for like a good 7 years. And then everything happened. I had to change it because it's freaking Ethan, and all the mess that Resident Evil 7 was, in my opinion. Don't crucify me. On the upside, at least it wasn't that Ethan married Claire, and that was the story.
Oh, please no.
And Claire getting taken by the family, that would have been just the worst.
I would have murdered someone if that happened. I mean, again, it makes sense with the Redfield bloodline. Maybe that's the sole reason why Chris is going after Ethan in Resident Evil 8. He's like, okay, I'm gonna kill your wife, not because she has like witch tendencies, but because I need to continue the Redfield line.
Yeah, he's going after those strong male figures that just like come in out of nowhere and just survive apocalyptic moments. He's like, yep, this is the one for her. I know it.
I don't know.
I think they're getting a little too old for it at this point. They need to just give up.
I know, man. Like one thing that makes me really sad is just thinking about how old the Resident Evil characters are. Like, well, Leon's like 42. Like,
dude, it's
45.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It makes me feel old even thinking just how much time has passed since all these games have come out. Like, we're talking about this, like, Code Veronica coming out in 2000, and I'm like, no way, that's way too late. And I'm sitting there thinking, holy hell, I was 7 years old in 2000. That was a long time ago. Like, oh my god, what is happening? What to us and our characters?
I know, dude. It's just, I hate it. Going back to the Code Veronica remake that could be potentially worked on after the Resident Evil 4 remake, how long did Capcom take between making the Resident Evil 2 remake, the Resident Evil 3 remake? because I don't want that to happen to Code Veronica.
That was quick.
know.
I mean, it was only 2 years. I was surprised how fast they popped it out. Not because I didn't think they could do it, but because I thought that they would just take longer, you know? Like, I figured they would just take their time on it. But at the same time, it was like, man, with how little the game had, I also see how they were able to crank it out so quickly. And Code Veronica has a lot going on in it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't want them to do Code Veronica dirty like they did the Resident Evil 3 remake. Resident Evil 2 remake was perfect, you know? Like, I loved it. I didn't get a chance to play the whole thing, but, you know, as far as, like, what the fans say and, like, the general consensus and from what I've played in the game, I love it so much. And then you have the Resident Evil 3 remake. It didn't even feel like they had 2 years to work on it in between the two remakes. Because it was severely cut short, and that was like one of the main points that people always bring up when someone's comparing the 2 remake to the 3rd remake. You just cannot compare a game that, you know, is 40 hours long to a game that's like 10 hours long.
Yeah, and they shortened it down so much, way too much. Like, there was so much that was taken out of it, like even the clock tower and all that. And I wouldn't want to lose all of that out of Code Veronica. So if they do that, I would hope that they would take their time, you know? Like, I don't want them to rush it just to try to get it out quick enough. Like, I mean, if they're already doing 4 remake again, I mean, dude, we've seen 4 a million times. We don't need another remake anyways. And they're already trying to, like, get that out soon enough as is. So I really wish that they would just do Code Veronica. Well, honestly, I prefer that they're lying about 4 and end up just releasing Code Veronica.
I mean, I wouldn't be that mad, but you know how much I love Resident Evil 4. And to be honest with you, it's always gotten like different ports, like, you know, from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 to GameCube to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's never been actually remade. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
How remade is it getting, though? That's the thing. We still need to know how anything. Remade it's getting.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait, dude. It's gonna be crazy. But going back to Degeneration, let's kind of like summarize the main pros and the main cons of the movie, because we kind of, you know, discussed a little bit about the plot, what we disliked, what we liked, what we were disappointed about, what we were slightly happy about. So do you want to start us on like some of the big pros of the movie that you thought about, Taicho?
For sure. So some of the big pros that I know that we had talked about, definitely character insight development, just because we got to see them again. And it was cool to find out a little bit more, especially, the one thing we didn't talk about, the huge moment. We know that Claire has Leon's phone number.
Yes.
They texted each other. Yes. They were texting.
That is the only purpose that I like. The only purpose for Degeneration to exist is to tell us they're in contact with each other.
Right? It was great. So that was awesome to know about that development. I just say I don't like the development at the end, but it was still good to see our favorite characters again, you know, popping back up. The quality for the graphics of the time, I'll still give it a pro. Now, not so much, but for the time, I was definitely highly impressed with how a lot of the scenery was. I think it was more so lacking in the characters, but we'll get into that for the cons part. Pros for sure, Claire slapping the senator, #1 pro of the whole movie.
Best moment.
You know those like video picture frames that can like replay little videos for you? I like need that moment as like a GIF just over and over on one of those picture frames to keep next to my bed so I can go to sleep at night. That way I know everything in the world is okay still.
We need a Claire teddy bear slapping a teddy bear senator in the face. That's what I need.
Build-A-Bear next workshop idea right there.
A live action figure. I would spend $500 on it.
Yeah, right. You just need to get one of those full, like, you know, they had like a Resident Evil pop-up restaurant in Tokyo, I believe, one time. You just need like a full-size Nemesis, but of Claire slapping the senator.
Oh yeah, please make it happen. Take our money, Capcom. There's so much potential you could be doing, but you're not doing it.
Every time you pop in 25 cents, she slaps the senator.
Dude, I'd be popping freaking $30.
Oh,
I just wouldn't want it to stop.
Right? You just gotta have it on a loop.
Yeah.
So then the biggest pro of this movie was the fact that Claire was the saving grace for sure. No matter how you look at it, no matter how dirty they try to do our girl, she definitely was like the only true epic thing about this movie when it came down to the story.
Yeah.
Even though they tried to like dull her down, she had such the best save moments. She saved Leon's and Angela's behind when, you know, everything is blowing up and the fire's going down. So yeah, I don't know. I would say Claire definitely took the show with this movie, even though they tried to do her dirty again.
I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, I'm gonna say it louder for the people at the back, the Claire Redfield doubters. Claire saved this movie. And I mean, after watching Degeneration for the first time, the only reason why I watched it again was because of Claire. And even though they did her dirty, as you mentioned, with the story and how she was portrayed, she did get those special moments. Her slapping the senator, her karating the crap out of the zombies. You know what I mean? The special moments, the saving grace of the movie. These little special moments that are gonna forever live in all of the memories of, you know, the Resident Evil fans worldwide.
We also have her sassiness when she catches the doctor at the end too, or the scientist, you know, and they catch him at the car. That was a good moment too.
I was surprised that Leon was driving too. I don't know why she would let him drive. I was a little concerned.
How they did not crash. Yeah. He's always, you know, just doing that full Tokyo drift side swiping with vehicles. So I figured they were going to run him over before actually stopping and rolling up. I didn't think he was going to be there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Leon ran him over by mistake. I wouldn't say he was going to do it on purpose, but you know how Leon is with his vehicles. Always crashing.
Let's also talk about Angela's scrub ass showing up right at the end to like point the gun at his back.
Yeah, like
so nice.
Like, bitch, please give Claire the moment, okay? Just give Claire the moment.
It's all about Claire.
I know. Claire is the one that was kidnapped by this guy. Technically kidnapped, honestly. I have no idea why she consented to go with the stranger in his car. He was like, oh yeah, you down for some tea? And she was like, yeah, sure. In the middle of a zombie outbreak, mind you, okay? I don't understand.
Well, that was the thing. She like simp, non-simp. Like, it was weird. She was both a simp and not a simp at the same time.
What is the opposite of a simp? Like, what is the simp version of a female? She was kind of simping for that guy.
Yeah, a little bit. And then, like, she realized that he was being shady after the call. And then she was like, oh, now I'll not trust him.
Very shady, very shady.
Yo, can we talk really quick, though, about that hilarious moment at the end when Leon runs back to the helicopter and he literally looks like Sasquatch with his arms just flailing? Oh my god. And he was huge compared to the helicopter.
I don't understand how he fit into the helicopter. Right? Even Claire herself was like, what did I just notice? What is this? With her face, with her like...
He was like 6'7", like trying to just run into this damn thing.
That's a pro, right? That is a pro of the movie.
I guess so, yeah. Leon the Sasquatch. Oh my god, that was such an epic moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was a little disappointed that when Claire and Leon were talking, what did she tell him? Like, we should. Leon was like, oh yeah, I hope we, like, for the next time we see each other, I hope we, you know, hang out, and I hope we are in like a more normal situation. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, hopefully things aren't as crazy next time type of. Yeah.
We needed a hug though, like a handshake, a bro handshake, man. I don't know. Just touch Claire.
Come on. We know they got feels.
Yeah, come on.
They need to hug it out. They need to stop acting like such tough guys. Especially if they're texting. Come on, why would they not hug if they haven't seen each other in forever?
They're already text buddies. I mean, come on, Capcom.
Right?
All the best relationships start out with people being friends.
There you go. He needs to get it. He needs to move towards that Claire, and he needs to just make it happen, because Leon and Redfield lineage, where it's at. Boulder punching, dodging babies.
That's what we need for our Resident Evil 15. We need Leon and Claire's child, who's 18 years old, and he's going on to the first day of work at like the police station, and then same shit happens to him. Poor guy.
Right? Here we go again. Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah. That would be great.
It's mostly wishful thinking, but you never know, man.
It's Capcom. Like, it's legit the ship that we need, though. If there's a ship that ever needed to happen in any show or game ever, it's that Leon and Claire need to end up together.
I know.
I want him to get Ada just because he's tried so hard, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you just gotta know when to give up. You know, it just doesn't happen sometimes. And, you know, Claire's right there, and she's a beast, so...
See, for me, I ship Leon and Ada, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's tried so hard, and she's always pushed him back a little bit. And I feel like with that relationship, there's never gonna be an ending. She's always running away. She's never going to be serious. She's a spy, for God's sakes, and he's like a government official. He has to like settle down with someone as wifey material as Claire is. You know what I mean? Like, Claire is the embodiment of what a perfect wife is.
Isn't Ada a wanted fugitive at this point?
Huh?
Isn't Ada a wanted fugitive at this point?
She's been a fugitive since like 20 years ago, probably.
Yeah, Leon needs something a little bit more stable.
Yeah, they need a family. We need to secure the Kennedy and the Redfield line, and we need to secure the future of Resident Evil fans, because I ain't about to play with freaking Jake Mueller and Ethan for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my god, that would be so bad.
Get me out of here.
That would be so bad. And then they bring back Pierce, but he's a aircraft carrier this time.
You know, they're probably gonna somehow bring him in. You know how we were talking about Capcom creating these new characters and bringing characters, reusing them? No, sorry, not reusing them, but using them in the movies instead of bringing older characters that we actually like. That's how I feel with Angela. That's how I feel like characters that I don't think should have been brought back. Sorry, characters that shouldn't have been really used at all.
Yeah.
Angela, I mean, what the hell? No need to explain myself there. Helena, as much as I like Helena, she was the Angela and Helena storylines are so similar to each other. They both have siblings, right? The siblings were somehow involved with the bioterrorism, like bioweapon thing. You know what I mean?
And they're there for the transformation and everything.
And they had to kill them. And Leon's was there
for it.
Capcom, I am sorry, you did not have to reuse the same exact storyline for Re6. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I feel like Helena was them trying to do it right. Because, I mean, it's like the same type of character, too. They even have, like, similar voices as well, if you think about it.
The only saving grace about Helena is Capcom were like, oh my gosh, we can't create another, like, sim situation here. Because Leon falls hard for all the female characters he has to save. They made Helena, like, 23 years old, and he was, like, in his 40s. So it would have been very weird.
Yeah, Helena's a badass, though. She's a good character, I feel like. I mean, I don't know. She was iffy, but I liked her overall.
Yeah, I only pointed it out because I thought it was way too similar to the Angela storyline. And on the other hand, new characters that I really like are Pierce, for example. I love Pierce. Why did you have to kill him?
Did you like Pierce? I thought he was a pleb.
Well, yes. And no. At the same time. I mean... Did they really have to kill him, though? He literally gave his life for Chris. And he held down Chris. You know what I mean? Like, he helped him through a hard time. And Chris would have lost his life if Pierce wasn't there. But that's just, like a whole thing for another podcast.
To be honest, I feel like I just didn't like Pierce because I just didn't like the storyline in Resident Evil 6. That's probably why I just was salty towards him, because he came in for a story I didn't like.
I see where you're coming from that too.
Yeah. I guess I kind of stopped thinking about Pierce and Jake as characters. Like when I didn't like I worded that wrong. How do I put it? I stopped looking at how their character was developing in it, because I didn't like how the story was already playing out, so I didn't care. Like, I had the cutscenes on, but I was just kind of spacing out and just waiting to get information. But yeah, I just wasn't the biggest fan of their characters, so I wasn't the biggest fan of their stories, so I didn't like the characters.
I mean, honestly, start a petition to delete Jake Mueller from the history of Resident Evil. It's so
Let's
dumb.
Just delete Re-6.
Wesker's child? Can you think of a better plot? Please, Capcom, for the love of God. Wesker's child. We don't even know who
why
his
is he
mom
such a scrub? Why was he such a scrub too, though?
Yeah.
Like, if he's Wesker's child, I don't know. I thought that he was just so lame for being Wesker's kid.
And it was so stupid that he had some like superpower heroes too, just like his dad. That's not how it works. Wesker is not genetically freaking a superhero. He like injected himself with something, didn't he? Yeah. So like, how is this kid who is a human have these powers? It makes no sense.
I guess they took it from his blood and got, or they, did like a, what do you call it? Didn't they explain it in there that he was like built in a tube, basically?
That is so dumb. So like, he doesn't have a mom then?
Kinda. I mean, I'm sure there has to be like an egg donator, but I don't think they ever get into like who it is, the specific of who his mom is. I don't think it's like anybody notable in the series or anything like that.
Oh, I think we don't know anything about that because Capcom were like so lazy and they just didn't want to think about it, and now it's just a huge ass mess.
Yeah, this is true.
It's just a huge mess.
This is true.
Yeah.
And now we don't know where we're going.
Yeah, we don't know. Going back to Degeneration.
10 years later.
I would say, I mean, yeah, we already talked about how much we loved Capcom bringing back Claire and how much we appreciated, even though it wasn't what we wanted to see her as. The role that she took, how she was portrayed, how little action she was given. We're still thankful for that. We want to see her at least once in every 8 years, like, don't, please, we'll take anything at this point.
She's like a Resident Evil Eclipse.
A very rare occurrence, huh?
That should be the next title she's in. Resident Evil Eclipse, right there. Featuring
Billy and, I don't know, Claire. And who else is severely neglected in the Resident Evil franchise? Ashley.
Let's see. Rebecca.
Yeah.
Barry getting brought in properly. He was in Revelations 2.
I don't even count that. That was not. I don't know. He needs a proper game.
It's not enough Barry action.
We need more Barry.
Hunk. We need Hunk in the game. Tofu.
I mean, a petition to make Tofu the Resident Evil 9 main protagonist.
Yes, dude. Tofu needs to become the new Resident Evil face. It just needs to be literally the whole future of Resident Evil.
Alex Wesker who?
Right?
But
Alex Wesker who? Oh, sorry. More like Tofu.
I love Tofu too. I would say another pro of the Degeneration movie was, like, I know we shat on it already a lot. There's a lot of problems with it, obviously. But one thing I wanted to highlight is the fact that technically it was the first Resident Evil CGI movie that we got, and as bad as it looks now, because it did not age well, it was the first one we got, and we always have to keep that in mind, and it opened the door for the future Resident Evil movies, such as Damnation and Vendetta, these two movies are, in my opinion, way better than Degeneration. But yeah, and now we're waiting for the next movie. I feel like we're about due for a next one too, because the last one we got, Vendetta, was in 2017. And we don't know what's going on with Leon. We've never gone this long without knowing what Leon is doing, honestly. Last time wasn't Vendetta 2017, and then before that it was Resident Evil 6.
Was it? I thought Damnation came out after 6.
Did it?
I think so. Yeah, because I think it was 2, 4, Degeneration, 6, Damnation, Vendetta for Leon's stories. Or wait, sorry. You have 2, 4, Degeneration, and then I think Dark Side Chronicles came out, and then 6, and then Damnation, Vendetta, I think.
So, on average, would you say we see Leon every 3 years or so?
Yeah, about 3 to 4 years, I guess.
He's about due for another one.
Right?
Resident Evil game-wise, we're not going to be seeing him for a long time.
Well, we'll see him in this remake,
yeah, but I mean,
sure.
like, what I'm trying to say is, in the current state, like, what is he doing right now?
Yeah, I got
Same thing with Claire, you know? Like, yeah, we saw her in the Resident Evil 2 remake, but we don't know what she's doing now. It's been, like, 8 years, or, you know, however long it's been since we last saw her in Revelations. I mean, again, Capcom has been heavily focusing on Leon for the movies, which I like. I mean, I don't mind it. Leon is my...
because they know he's number one.
Yeah, I mean, Leon is my favorite character. I just would like to see better storylines, better movies, not just like throw in Ada there because she's, you know, she always has to be where Leon is, or add in Claire and make it a horrible plot line just for the sake of adding Claire in there. You know what I mean? Like, respect the actual like heroes that, you know, escaped Raccoon City.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I'm even looking through this now too to see like along all this, and yeah, so we have him in 1998, and then we've got in films we had 2008. Well, that's Damnation or
Degeneration.
Yeah. So there's 2008. We've got 2007, 2002 for Dark Side Chronicles. 2009 is for Dark Side Chronicles.
Yeah.
He's all over. So it's roughly about like 4 years spaced in between a lot of the content.
Yeah.
That's what it's looking like on here.
I think
so I'd say we're about due for new Leon.
We are due. We're definitely due. For a new Leon, by the way, not the remake. Because I don't think that counts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it counts.
They might be trying to count that, though.
Do you think so? Like they're going to change it?
Possibly. I feel like that might be they're like, oh, hey, we brought you your favorite character again, and since he's reimagined, it's a new game, so there you go. You know what I mean? I don't know if they'll... It seems like they're trying to backtrack on story a lot. If anything, he might be the new person that's being mentioned in 8. Remember, they said that they're going to bring in another character that's going to like really shake things up.
And they did say that the character they want to bring in and they're going to reveal, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the next 5 days, because again, August is almost over, right?
Yeah.
And they told us they were going to give us the next news update in August, and they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I don't know how much else we have left. Let's see, Resident Evil 8 update. Let's see if we got anything for that. I don't know.
I mean,
we'll just have to keep waiting.
I am hopeful. If it's not Leon, it's totally okay as long as we're getting the remake, and as long as we maybe get a Leon movie next, the next Resident Evil CGI. We're about due. I mean, even if he's not in the movie, I still want a CGI movie because it's been almost 4 years since we got Vendetta.
And they're a lot of fun too.
I love them.
It's great.
I love them. And one thing I love about them is the fact that they always pop up out of nowhere when you least expect them. We did not get a single speculation or like any speculation, any rumors about Vendetta. And like one day I just got on Tumblr and everyone was talking about Vendetta and like Leon and motorcycles and the fact that he's going to work with Chris and there's Rebecca, and everyone was losing their mind. They were so hyped and so excited. So I hope...
It was an epic
I know. I was very excited for that one, and it definitely delivered. Except for some cons that I thought about. But we'll save that for the Vendetta podcast.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, I mean, who knows what we'll see coming up. I mean, maybe he'll show up in 8. Maybe a new movie will come up. I don't know. I honestly, what I would love to see is an animated version of all just the regular movies. One where you don't play it. Just like a canon play out that's of exactly how the, scenarios would have gone. Like the mansion, Leon and Claire's story, Jill and Carlos for 3. Having an actual full film. Can you imagine a full film of 4? That would be epic.
That
4 is such a long game that would make a great movie.
I would love that so much. And honestly, like, I'm gonna go on record and say it right now. Resident Evil 4 Remake is gonna be the most successful Resident Evil game to date. I'm saying it. I think so. I really think so. I think the potential to, like, messing up that game is, like, so little. I mean, don't get me wrong, Capcom could do it. Like, they could totally mess it up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. You know what I mean? But I just think if done properly, Capcom can do it, and they are able. They have the ability. They have, like, the production. They have the team.
I think it just depends how much they change it. That's the thing.
I feel like if they change it too much, if they change it too much, people are gonna hate it. But if they just, like, add the like, perfect amount of change, along with, like, you know, the story expansions they were talking about, possibly Luis Serra, possibly maybe some things with Wesker too, because Wesker was behind Ada the whole time. Like, she was working with Wesker.
Yeah, he was still alive then.
The whole, like, plot line with her and, like, Krauser too, and, like, it just didn't, like, flow that well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe the story is going to be expanded based on that. Maybe, like, you know, the Wesker, Ada, Krauser side. Or maybe we'll get more information about how, like, the last Plagas happened, and how Sadler went there, and how, like who Salazar, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole, how did Sadler become such a powerful figure, and what led to that happening? And
yeah, that would be cool to have more information on that.
And how was the last Plagas created? Like, was it created in a lab? We're not, like, we don't have, you know what I mean? We don't have that we don't have detailed information as much as, like, we have on, like, the G virus or something like that, or the C virus.
It would be cool to figure out how it got started more, because we did kind of get thrown into it and just find out that they're all, like, the leaders and stuff and who's doing what, but never really, like, how it came to be approached. I think it'd be cool if we did get to see a little bit more of that, maybe even in DLC, like, playing as, like, Luis, you know, sneaking in the beginning or something.
I would love that, because I think Luis is very mysterious. We don't really know. All we know is he's a police from Madrid, right? That's what he said when he was talking about And then we never really got any information about why he was there. He wanted to take the Las Plagas, what do you call it? Copy? Like the vial? You know what I mean? He wanted that.
Yeah, he was trying to take it back.
Yeah, he wanted that. So why did he want it? Who was he actually working for? You know?
Yeah, like, was he trying to expose them, or...
Yeah, so...
Because, I mean, he was going to give it to Leon, too, though, so I think he just wanted it exposed.
Was he, though?
It seemed like it, unless he was about to bust him up.
I think that guy had a lot more up his sleeves, and he had, like... He wanted to do more with the Las Plagas vial. I don't know what it's called, like a... What do you call it?
Was it the antivirus? No, it wasn't the antivirus. It was just the injection.
It was the injection, yeah. Like the things. It was like little eggs that you would inject people in.
Oh yeah, the embryo.
Yeah, and then, like, it would hatch, and then once they hatch, Sadler gets control of whoever.
Yeah, the parasite. Yeah, the parasite. That's what it was.
Yeah. So I think that's what he was trying to get. But my question is, where did that parasite come from? We don't have that information. And,
True.
You know, going to Luis, was he working for Daniel? No, that's far-fetched.
Ooh.
Don't mind.
The French don't work with the Spaniards. Come on now.
Come on. No, it works.
Daniel's gonna think he's too uptight for Luis. That's
Daniel
for sure.
is Luis, confirmed.
There you go. Yeah, it's the same person, just in a different disguise.
Yeah, for sure. But moving on from the RE4 talk, because we are.
I'm just gonna have to play. I'm just gonna have to play after this.
Yeah, we are very excited about it, and we're not sure yet about what's going on. But just to quickly wrap up what's going on with with our review, Degeneration. Let's go over some of the cons that we thought, like the major red flags of the video, really quickly.
True. We still have those to go over now, another 30 years later after we talked about the pros. It's too exciting talking about Resident Evil content. How do you possibly stay on track? All right, so you want to go ahead and get started with those cons? I went off with those pros.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about your con side of things.
So there's one thing that I really wanted to point out, and I know it's like, it's mostly an argument in terms of how the movie aged, but just comparing it to something that came shortly after in the Resident Evil franchise. What does it say about Resident Evil Degeneration, which was released in October of 2008, mind you, when the trailer for the video game Resident Evil 5 that was released 6 months after that, it was released in March 2008, actually had nicer graphics than the movie.
Yeah, things were a bit shinier in 5 for sure.
6 months. Degeneration felt like a game. It felt like a whole cutscene that never ended for me. The dialogue was bad. The faces were horrendous. Lip syncing, it did not match up with what the what Leon and Claire were saying in the movie. Yeah. Everyone had like a busted face. Like, did you see the female lips? They all looked the same.
I remember Leon's lips too looked like he was dead.
He
had
zombie,
just
man.
like dark purple pink lips going on that just I don't know, he looked like he was just done.
His hair looked so static, it wasn't moving.
He had more blush on than all the females.
He was ready.
In the or not blush, what's the stuff that ladies put on
like
the cheek area?
Foundation.
Yeah. There you go, foundation. Yeah, he had more foundation on than all the females in the show.
It looked like horrible foundation though. I don't know what he was doing.
It was part plastic.
That's why he needs Claire. They're best buddies.
He needs the fashion tips from Claire.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I was definitely very disappointed about just like the drastic change between graphics in like a matter of 6 months. Like Capcom, this is a movie. A movie is technically supposed to have better graphics than cutscenes in the game. If you look back at Resident Evil 5 now, it definitely aged way, way, way better than Degeneration did. Way better.
Even if you look at, honestly, like the comparison of Vendetta and 6, I feel like 6 even still had almost better quality than... Or not Vendetta, sorry, Damnation. Yeah, like I still feel like it was a bit shinier, smoother. I don't know, maybe it's been so long, maybe I'm just remembering it incorrectly. But, I don't know, they both have their advantages and disadvantages. I feel like they have smoother textures in the movies, but they're all very dull. Yeah. There's no light, resemblance like in 6, how you have like a lot of reflections and stuff going on, and the lights are very prominent. Yeah. But then you have the movies, everything's just kind of very dull, no reflections. Everybody's skin is just very bleh. Yeah,
man, I think Capcom have a little bit to do in that regard. Just like work a little bit on the graphics in terms of like what the faces look like. They like just bring them to life, bring them to life a little more, create like some more energy. Because a lot of the faces in Degeneration, they just seemed very like lifeless, and
it makes it hard to show that they're getting beat up too. Like they just look the same the whole time. Like there's no like dirt effect added or anything like to their face. Like they're just very static.
I agree. To me, it almost looked like a puppet show. Like I don't know if that's like going far-fetched, like throwing Capcom like too much under the bus, but it was like they all looked like puppets and they were moving the same like direction and the same like emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember there was something we had seen with even Leon's character where there was like something he was doing, and like wasn't it that like his hands were like always like perfectly at his side or something we noticed, and it just seemed weird, like he was always in one of the character testing model forms basically.
He was moving like a robot, like, hey, what's up? My name is Leon Kennedy. I don't know, that's what he was like. Yeah,
basically. Yeah, him with his no emotion emo side.
Leon did legitimately. He did not smile until the end of the game when he freaking like he created like a half smirk when he was saying goodbye to Claire, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it was very blah. It was very emotionless for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, other than that, like, comparison that I thought of from, like, linking Degeneration to the Resident Evil 5 graphics, again, the plot, we already talked about it a little bit, how run down it was, like, it didn't really make sense to me. We didn't have enough details about, Angela's and Curtis's storyline. It really didn't, like, I didn't think it was justified for Angela to feel that way about Curtis, or Curtis to feel that way about Angela, because we didn't even get a proper background on just Angela as a whole.
Definitely.
I did not like her as a character. I think she was only there to stir up the pot and give Leon a reason to fight this bioweapon. Otherwise, he wouldn't have really had a reason to fight Curtis.
Plus the terribly cheesy kiss scene between them was just so unnecessary.
To be honest, was that even a kiss though, or was he giving CPR?
I'm pretty sure he was simping pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean,
well, because at the end she says, "Let's go do the diving again sometime," and I don't think she would want to drown again.
God.
So
there's gonna be a lot of CPR going on in that one.
Oh my God! Please don't. No, I don't want Leon to be in that. Never. Don't do that.
Imagine
please.
What Ada would have thought if she found out he did that with Angela.
Oh, dude, she would go on a hit mission to take out Angela immediately.
Hitman. Hit woman. I wouldn't blame her.
Oh, she would so go for it.
I would not blame her.
Yeah, but she just strings him on too long. I can't help but feel bad for Leon. Never getting the lady he's chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Ada's always just leading him on, throwing rocket launchers from a distance, the things that men always want women to do for them, and then she just runs away. Yeah. If only we could hold on to those rocket launcher throwing ladies in our lives. It'd just be so much better.
What Leon needs is Claire. Just ditch.
He does, but she's not throwing rocket launchers,
man.
Well,
she's throwing freaking friendship at him. I don't know, man. At least she's not running away.
She's throwing come save me off an island vibes.
She's throwing the stable relationship. That stable, I'm not going to run away every 3 days vibe. That's what we need. That's what he needs. That is what he needs.
She must have done something to piss him off, though, because, she hits him up on the island to get saved in Code Veronica, and then Leon's like, I'm just going to send your brothers through that.
I don't know you.
Get me out of here.
Honest, he was stuck with Sherry, though. That's why he didn't come to the island.
True.
Which is something for a whole other episode. I feel like everything we say, I'm like, oh yeah, that's for another podcast episode. But just there's so
that's
many
the thing.
details.
Everything links in so much. Yeah, it's hard to save things for other episodes, but still cover how it relates to other ones. It's wild. It's always wild, but it's fun. Yeah. It's great that there's so much to talk about Resident Evil, and to keep us going, to look forward to different things that we might see in the future and all that.
But to quickly wrap up Degeneration, guys, I would give it a very strong 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for me. Maybe when it first came out, I would have given it an 8.5. But now that we're 12 years into it, we know how it aged. We're a little woke now, so we're not that crap about Claire being stuck in the mother world is not gonna fly over us. So why did you not give her a gun? You know what I mean? Those little details, they add up, and people want to see Claire doing badass stuff because she's a badass. So I would say
that's for sure.
In 2008, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. Now I would say it's a 7, and that's being generous, to be honest with you. Very generous. A very generous 7.
Yeah, I'd say when it first came out, it was definitely a 9.5 for me. But at this point, I would say I agree. It's at about a 7. They kind of mess with it a bit too much in the wrong ways, and seeing it now, older and everything, I just don't vibe it as much. And it's not even just about getting older too, to even say it that way, because I still absolutely adore Resident Evil 2. It's my favorite Resident Evil game, so age definitely doesn't have to do with saying oh, I don't like the game anymore or movie, because it just didn't age well in that sense. It's just yeah, growing up, like, and noticing more things you see, there's just different things they could have done with it.
And I think, again, in terms of the aging aspect, just comparing it to the Resident Evil 5, like, why did Resident Evil 5 age so much better? Like, it does not make sense. There is something clearly wrong that Capcom did. In between, they messed up so bad in that period of 6 months that the damage was irreversible. And now, if you look at Resident Evil 5, it's perfect. Resident Evil 5 graphics are great. The cutscenes are great, in my opinion.
They went to Hollywood with it. That was the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
They tried to fill in all those little Hollywood things, the love interest and all that, and I just don't think they pulled it off well.
I think they should have thought about, like, ahead of time and think, hey, in 5 years, how bad is this gonna look?
Right? Yeah. I'm curious how much they even knew they were going to be going forward with Resident Evil at that point. Like, I don't know if they were feeling nervous. I don't know if they're feeling nervous now, if they still feel like they're just getting started. Like, what is Capcom's plan is what I want to know. That's for sure. For me, I think Capcom are in a great position right now because the remakes did relatively well. Minus what some people thought about how short the Resident Evil 3 remake was. People loved Resident Evil 2 remake, and everyone is hyped for the Resident Evil 4 remake. And just the potential idea of having a Code Veronica remake is making people very happy. We need it. And again, I mean, Resident Evil 8, yes, it's weird, yes, it's not really a Resident Evil game, but hey, Resident Evil 7 really wasn't a Resident Evil game in a sense. It didn't play like a Resident Evil game. So, but the good thing about Resident Evil 7 was people still liked it, and that game is, like, some fans think that game is the best out of all of them. Because it brought something new, and it didn't, like, do a Resident Evil 6 type of plot or, like, type of action, you know what I mean? Like, they put in a twist to it where it wasn't, like, it was new, but it wasn't like a disaster new. I don't know how to explain it in, like, better terms. It was a good change. A change for the better, in a way. I feel like they could have done better with 7, but it is what it is. I mean, it was definitely a much needed change. So I guess for the next movie, I just hope we see a better change that's developed from the other two that came after this one, because they did develop pretty well, but I don't know. I hope that we see more character development from our favorite characters that we haven't seen in a while, and that they just don't do more of the female characters dirty. Not Angela, please don't bring Angela back ever again. Yeah, no Angela. I don't want to see any diving, please. No diving. No diving. No CPR. No purple dress nonsense. Oh my god, that was terrible. It was terrible. It was so bad. It was terrible. But yeah, I'd say that's about it for this summary for the movie overall. I mean, it was pretty good for its time. Didn't age too well, but I definitely still have my moments of it that are some of my favorites when it comes to Claire. Yeah, for sure. I would say, I mean, if any of you listening to this haven't watched Degeneration yet, I would still give it a, I would watch it. I wouldn't totally skip it. It is the first. I watch it usually once a year. Yeah, I watched it not that long ago. We watched it just before doing this podcast, actually, just to, like, give us a refresh and a reminder of how the story went and all that. But yeah, just a reminder, if you don't have to watch it. It is the first CGI movie, but it's technically not really related to the future CGI movies in a way. You can watch Vendetta first. It won't take away from the plot line. Like, there's no order. There's no specific order that you need to watch the movies in, or otherwise you would miss out on something. It goes Degeneration, and then Damnation, and then the last one we've got in 2017 was Vendetta. So I would like, again, there are some red flags, there are some major, like, character development and, like, storyline, plot-wise, red flags and all that. I would still give it a try. If you like Leon, if you like Claire, if you like zombies, if you like, G-Virus lookalike, give it a try. Definitely. Still one of my favorites for the zombies, for sure. It was great having them come in. So, Definitely give that one a watch. I still don't think it's a bad film, for sure. I still love it for that classic feel, and yeah, it's a good one. It's worth it. Worth the watch over to get that zombie feel with Leon and Claire again, since we haven't had zombies in a long time, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's always a refresher to see zombies again, especially as of now.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
miss
see
them.
zombies that that often. Yeah.
Ever anymore, except these
Yeah.
remakes. So, yeah, definitely go get your fill for your zombies over there with Degeneration, a little bit in some of the other ones as well. But yeah, it's definitely a good one. Like we said, solid 7 out of 10. It's
Solid
definitely
7
worth a
out of
watch.
10. A generous 7 out of 10.
But until next time, thank you for stopping by and hold your fire. I'm a human.